Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard that Green Screens Media train, recording live from somewhere. This is One and Done, your fast break of college basketball information powered by drroto.com. On tonight's show, me and two of the best in the business, my broskies in basketball, will continue our journey across the preseason college basketball landscape as we preview tonight the Horizon and Metro Atlantic Athletic Conferences, the MAAC. My name is Jay Heinrich, the conductor of the aforementioned Green Screens Media train. You can follow me on X. You can follow me on anywhere, on X, wherever you want, a.k.a. Elon Cesspool, the whatever he has going on over there at Dr. William Cannon. And you can find this man in those Twitter streets at Fantasy Nav. He is Eric the Blue, the Baron of Bread of Green Screens Media. That is Eric Uromoth. What's happening?
Man, back at it again. Can't believe that we're breaking down our 9th and 10th conferences. And it really makes me remember two things. One, the season is absolutely upon us. Like, it is right around the corner. It's going to be here before we know it. But also, I kind of like to look back a little bit. Think about all the work that we've done over the course of the offseason, right? We've been here pumping Mike up, making sure that his transfer portal board goes from 100 to 200 to 300. We've also been talking to coaches from around the country. You want to hear how Randy Bennett has built his historic program? Check us out on YouTube. That conversation's there. You want to hear Mark Pope tell us that recruits are afraid of playing in the Big 12? Get on our YouTube. That conversation's there. You want to see Kim English's reaction when he finds out live on our show that he is having a kid transfer out of his program? Get on YouTube. That conversation's there. I like to say it all the time. That dialogue is greenfield. You can go back to it at any point, and all of them have some really interesting insights. So if you are not already, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have that bell on so you don't miss any of the work we're pushing out. But also go take a look at some of those interviews we did. We got about a dozen or so up there, a little less. All of them have some really interesting conversations.
And right, they do. We didn't know whether or not to take him seriously when he was talking to us about losing that player, like in that moment. And there was like a little bit of nervous laughter. Right. I just remember, and then we go off the air and we saw, and he goes, "No, really, like that just happened." It's like, oh my God, like that's amazing. That's amazing. But of course, let's get to that dude last in the intros, but first in your hearts and el corazones, El Capitan himself. He is the captain of the Green Screens Media ship. You can find him on X at MC Holland34. He is the OG Money Mike. That is Mike Holland. What it do, baby?
What it do, boys? Man, I cannot believe this is, like Eric said, preview number 9 and 10. Whew, it feels like we're almost to the halfway point. We'll slow down as we get to the power conferences, do those, one by one. But it's been a lot of fun. We've broken out a lot of different segments. A shout out to Chris Napier, man. He's been helping us a lot with creativity and social media content. So just, check out all our stuff, man. We're all over the place now. Facebook, TikTok, also on X, as Jay likes to say. And then also help us out with some other fun things that you might not see. And we got more stuff coming. So we've been cooking it up in the lab and going to bring it to you. And we're excited for this upcoming year, but I'm excited to talk about these two leagues that we're gonna drop into.
Absolutely. Follow at One and Done CBB, all spelled out, One and Done CBB. At Get Green Screens is the main Green Screens Media account on X. Make sure you do that. And that is the same handle over on those TikTok streets you will start to see our top 20 player countdown over there on TikTok and on TikTok and on YouTube as well. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. If you're here with us tonight, drop us a line in the live chat. Say what's up. Leave us a comment if you're catching us a little closer to the season. Be sure to do your part in that Green Screens Media universe. All right, let's get to it. No more waiting. Let's get to the Horizon League first. tonight. 11-team league. Last year, Youngstown State was the regular season champ, 15-5 in the conference. And in the conference tournament, Northern Kentucky beat Cleveland State. 16 seed Northern Kentucky lost to that number 1 seed Houston, 63-52 in the big dance. Ken Palm rank of the conference was 21st with 0 teams in the top 100, but that may change significantly here. Mike, let me go ahead and start with Eric right now first, as usual, leading off our headlines of the Horizon Conference.
Yeah, I think it starts with exactly what you said, right? This conference has had, it's got significant talent, and there's some programs out there that scheduled the Horizon League a few years back as part of their non-con, thinking it was going to be a walk in the park, and they might be in for a bit of a surprise, right? 9 of these 11 teams last year won 9 games or more in the league. Competitive balance was airtight from top to bottom, right? And it felt like every one of these league games was an absolute dogfight. And it feels like, certainly among the leagues we've talked about, maybe across the country, this might be one of the more difficult conferences to pull off the old double-double, where we see a team win both the regular season and the conference tourney. So, this league top to bottom, it's hard to pick out a premier program, and I think that has to do with just how competitive all 11 of these teams are projected to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to see a conference like that. Mike, I'm going to get your thoughts on some headlines as well this time around. The Horizon League is definitely going to be a fun conference to watch.
Yeah, and I'm right there with Eric. I mean, I think it's going to be a dogfight all year. I dove a little further into the metrics here, and this wasn't a great three-point shooting league. So, one of the big difference makers here is who's going to step up, who helped themselves the most in this area as we come into the season. Also, this conference struggled to get to the foul line, finishing 24th in the country. So with so many close games, like who's going to get some easy points here, as you like to say, Jay, those charity stripe buckets count. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one, man. I'm excited to dive a little bit deeper into it.
Yeah, definitely. And unlike a lot of mid-major conferences, the Horizon League saw a ton of their top players return. That experience that we've talked about with so many of those coaches that Eric was mentioning earlier, that experience in the transfer portal on their team in general, just being able to trust older players that have done it before, definitely is important to these coaches. And right now, let's talk about some of the top players in this league. This is something we haven't done before, but let's start with the Horizon League. Let's start something new here on One and Done for us. Let's build a dream team. We're going to build a team here. This will be our dream Horizon team, maybe.
Oh, I like that.
Eric. Yeah, I know, right? I think this is going to be something that we'll be able to do and come back to. But the Horizon League definitely set up very nicely with the top players in their conference. Eric, I'm going to come to you first here. Let's start with a guard that you might want to build your team around here in the Horizon League.
I mean, top of the league, especially at the guard position, feels like a pretty clear answer for me. And it all starts out with Trey Calvin, the guard from Wright State. Even 6 foot, 165 pounds, 32 games last year. He averaged over 20 points, almost 4 dimes, shot nearly 40% from 3 in a conference that hasn't done that all that well. He also can chip and dip, added 1.3 steals over the course of last game. So first team All Horizon last year, just an absolute weapon on the offensive side of the court, and seems like he's a real strong leader too, right? Those boys at Wright State are really circling around Calvin.
Always good to get one of those players that can chip and can dip a little bit. Calvin's one of those guys. Mike, next guard spot, who you got?
All right, I'll go ahead and take a guy that we talked about earlier this offseason as a spotlight member of our mid-major stars returning, and that's Marques Warrick, the guard from Northern Kentucky. 35 games last year, almost 19 points, about 3 assists, shot 38% from 3, and did have over a steal per game in about 35 minutes. Another big-time scorer like Calvin. He can really stroke it from range. Obviously, when you're shooting nearly 40% from 3, you're absolutely lethal. And, man, he's one of the main reasons these guys made the NCAA tournament last year. So he's the former freshman of the year in this league. He just knows how to get it done. He came into this league a few years ago and just really knows how to score the basketball. So we definitely have to have him up here.
Two impressive guards there. I'm going to fill this last guard spot. And I think I have the perfect fit for what we're trying to do here. That's with B.J. Freeman, guard from Milwaukee, 6'6", 6'7", right in that range, 200 pounds in 32 games last season, 18.2 points, 5.1 boards, and almost 3 assists in 30 minutes. You love to see those per 36 numbers are juicy. Mr. Freeman, you guys had 2 dynamite lead guards there. This is the guy that, like I said earlier, 6'6", 6'7" range, just an absolute nightmare matchup in anybody's backcourt, or against anybody's backcourt, I should say. Got the handles, the smooth stroke from all over the floor, and definitely has that pro game written all over him. So I will go with B.J. Freeman in that spot. Need some front court players here, guys, to fill out this Dream Horizon League team. Eric, go back to you here. Who you got?
Yeah, I get the first guard. I also get the first big man, and I'm going to go with Trey Townsend, 6'6", 230-pound forward out of Oakland. Played 32 games last year, 16.5 points, 7.5 boards. But despite his size, despite his prowess at cleaning up the glass, could also fill it up from downtown, 39% from range, chipped in a block over the course of those 32 games. So, overall, just an absolute force on both ends of the court. A complete monster in ball screen action. Felt like they were able to continue to go to that look, game after game. And the variety of ways in which he can score, it feels like it gives Oakland a lot of versatility. Feels like it makes Trey Townsend a nightmare to scheme for.
Last spot here, but certainly not least, feels like there's a pretty big name out there returning to the Horizon League from last year. Mike, who is the guy filling out our lineup at the 5?
Yeah, we got to go with the Cleveland State big man, Tristan Enaruna, 6'8", 220 in 35 games last year, 15 points per game, almost 7 rebounds, a little over a block, a little over a steal in 32 minutes. The former Big 12 product was at Iowa State, originally started his career at Kansas, so now spinning down here, and he was a force on both ends and pretty versatile for his size, man. He's got some handles. He can take you off the dribble a little bit, so very versatile game. As we kind of mentioned with all of these guys, right? It's no wonder all these guys are on our Dream Horizon team. So, Enaruna to finish this one out for us.
It's an impressive roster, to say the least. Trey Calvin, Marques Warrick, B.J. Freeman, Trey Townsend, and Tristan Enaruna. That is some impressive talent at the top of this league. But does it equate to the same sort of talent at the top of the league in terms of tiers that we are about to put these teams into in the Horizon League? We've done some different categories on our tier lists. Tonight, our top tier will be all in. These are the teams that we could go all in for that we believe could possibly make a run at this conference title. The mid tier will be check. If you're a poker player, you can see where this is going. And of course, the low tier is fold. So go all in, check, and fold as we put the Horizon League teams, all 11, into tiers. Going to start with Mike. What are we going to do here? How are we playing our hand, I should say, with old Cleveland State?
Well, 14-6 last year, right in the thick of things. We just talked about star big man Enaruna being back, and I'm all in. Coach Robinson, he's entering his second year. Tay Williams is a very versatile wing/forward. They also bring over Denver transfer guard Tevin Smith. He averaged 11 points per game. There's only one freshman on this squad, so we know how much we love to talk about, experience and older groups. So definitely have Cleveland State all in here. And, I'm looking forward to see if Enaruna can kind of take that next step.
These graphics departments stepping up here. I mean, these tiers, these tier makers, these are amazing. Shout out to the guys pushing the buttons in the truck. Shout out to those guys for sure. Detroit Mercy, Eric, how you feeling about the hand you are dealt with this squad?
Yeah, I think Detroit Mercy's coming in as a check for me. They lost their star scorer Antoine Davis. He finished second all time in points for this program, and the team overall is just full of transfers. So you like that a lot of the guys coming in are seniors themselves, but usually we've seen a bit of a team in transition, at least some time for that group to gel. Incoming is guard PJ Fuller from Washington. He's probably the most interesting player in terms of his fit and what he can do for Detroit Mercy. But ultimately, that overarching question remains. Can all the pieces come together fast enough in order for them to compete in what we've already discussed is a very tough conference?
A little check ski there for Detroit Mercy. Mike, going to go back to you here. What about Green Bay? Are you all in on them? Are you hitting that just to patting that table with for a check, or do we need to chunk these cards and fold with Green Bay?
Yeah, the Packers, I'm going to fold, and I'm also going to fold here with the Green Bay. Oh man, the name jumps right off of the right off of my head here. It'll come right back to me, but just a disastrous year last year. They were 2-18. That's not going to get it done. There's now a coaching change. Sundance Wicks, I love that. That's going to be all coach name team there. Sundance Wicks taking over. Of course, this entire roster's turned over. It's just very young. The one thing that they were able to do is they were able to nab a down transfer from the Mountain West and Noah Reynolds, who had actually a very nice season last year for Wyoming. So it gives them a little bit of hope. I just don't know, man. I don't, there's just this league, man. Like, it feels like there's just a ton of teams that are very competitive, and the Phoenix of Green Bay, I just don't see them rising from the ashes and really doing anything in this conference.
Hey, excellent, very good there, sir. Very good there, rising, very nice. I like that. Well done, Purdue Fort Wayne. I'll take these guys. I'm gonna go ahead and fold on Purdue Fort Wayne as well. Expect some aggressions here after nearly a 500 season. They were 9-11 in the conference. Lost a ton of key players, including Jared Godfrey, and only one senior on this squad. Not a lot of leadership there in the upperclassmen realm. So although they finished near 500 in the conference last year, Purdue Fort Wayne is going to go down at the bottom tier, and we are going to fold that hand. Mike, IUPUI. 2-18 last year in the conference. Is that automatically guarantee that they should be at the bottom here, or are we feeling a little bit better about them?
A little bit better than the Phoenix, right? I feel like this is more of a check. Obviously last year was a disaster. 9 of these teams finished with the 10 or more league wins or 9 or more league wins, and this was one of the 2 teams that didn't win more than 2 games in the league. So the reason for optimism, just return their entire backcourt. It's 9 guys coming back. So in total, and 8 of them are freshmen or sophomores last year. So a little bit more experience there. Jalen Counter in the backcourt is a nice player. And then Monroe and Brady also average double figures. So you figure with a little more experience, as they're coming back, they're going to be able to post some more wins here. So I got them getting up into that check status, that mid-tier for sure.
All right. Sounds like the Jaguar fans should look forward to a little step up there in the level of output there by the team. Milwaukee, Eric, going all in on them. Are we checking or are we folding?
Yeah, we are pushing all of our chips to the middle. Look, I mean, sometimes you gotta make that snap call. Happy to go all in here. We already talked about BJ Freeman, right? Anytime that you have a program with a team that, or the player that makes our dream team, they have to at least be considered dangerous. And he's not all they have going on in that backcourt, right? Marques Browning, Kentrell Pullian, these are guys that combined for 21 points a game. And like we've talked about before, not a true freshman to be found on this roster, right? So even if it's incremental, that time on the court goes a long way. I think all of that culminates in Milwaukee being one of the top programs in this league.
They got to really feel good about their depth, and just knowing that everybody there has some experience. You got to like that there for them. Makes sense to have all your chips on the table there for Milwaukee. Going to go back to you here, Mike. How you feeling about Northern Kentucky here? What are you doing with your hand?
I will snap call as well and push all my chips in. I was told there was no math, so Jay, you can count these up at the end of the show. But Northern Kentucky here, it's kind of like Milwaukee. It always helps when you have your star player come back in Warrick, and he has some guys around him, right? So Sam Vincent, a pretty nice guard, played a big role last year. Trey Robinson flashed at times. There's some question marks in the front court. I think Green Bay transferred Cade Meyer, though, should be leaned on heavily. He averaged 10 points per game for Green Bay, so it feels like they have a lot of pieces to make that NCAA tournament run again.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. I'm going to go with I'm going to take Oakland here, and we're going to check with them right now. Okay, we're just going to check for Oakland. Trey Townsend was on our Dream Horizon team, so obviously we have a lot of faith in the forward there. They did lose 3 of their top 4 scorers. They're going to need some guys to step up. Former Michigan State starting guard Rocket Watts, solid name, was okay last year. Like, the upside is there. If you're on Michigan State, you're there for a reason. There is some talent lingering. If they can get Watts playing his best, who knows what could happen here for Oakland. But for now, we're going to hit the old check button there. A few more here to get to close out our tiers. But let's start about Robert Morris here, and I'll go to Mike.
Yeah, they were 10-10, and we're going to go ahead and check that again. It's just another competitive squad. This is year 14 for head coach Andrew Toole. They did lose their 2 big scorers, but they get Jason Corbin back. He averaged double figures. They were also able to nab a down transfer in Justice Williams, who came over from LSU, and he should play a pretty significant role. But for now, we're going to have to see how the rest of this roster kind of plays and develops. So for right now, for Robert Morris, I think we'll go ahead and check this hand.
Last 2 here, Eric. Let's come back to you with Wright State. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm actually going to move them right to the top of this list, going to move all my chips into the center. They are a clear all-in for me. 10-10 last year, but all told, one of the more dangerous mid-major programs out there this year, at least in my opinion, right? Already talked about Trey Calvin, gave him his flowers earlier as we anointed him to our dream team. But also we have to keep in mind that they have a huge down transfer in Tanner Holden. But not only is it a down transfer, it's a homecoming story. If you recall, he left Wright State to go up to the high majors to play at Ohio State when he was originally at Wright State, averaged 20 points per game before transferring out. He's now back. He has that experience from the high majors. Really like this addition, or I guess this return to form for Holden and Wright State. And one of the more surprising stories from last year was Brandon Knoll, right? He's coming off a spectacular first season where he averaged 13 points and almost 9 boards a game. So really feels like it's all lining up in the right direction for Wright State.
Holden is definitely one of my favorite big dippers, dipping down from the high majors. It's going to be interesting to see if they can overcome that, sort of being that mid, hanging around in the middle of the standings in the conference here at 10-10. But one more here, Mike. Close us out with Youngstown State, who last year was 15-5 in the conference.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the cards a couple of times here, and it's tough, right, when you win the league. But it's college basketball, man. Things change really quickly from season to season. I'm going to go ahead and check here. Just a ton of roster turnover. I mean, I think it takes the upside down a notch here. I mean, Brandon Rush, he's a good scorer, but he's really only the main piece that's back. You have a bunch of interesting transfers. Ziggy Reed from Merrimack, Brett Thompson from Tennessee Tech. Feels like they have pieces to maybe want to push my chips all in, but I'm going to have to wait to kind of see how this plays out before, maybe I'll change my mind mid-season and we'll go ahead and, on the turn card here, we'll push them all in. But, pre-flop right now, I'm going to go ahead and, or after the flop, I'm going to go ahead and check.
It's a very top-heavy conference. We were talking about there being a lot of talent here coming back, and there's an 11-team conference, you look at that and you say, okay, this could end up with like 3 teams at the top, and then maybe 4 in the middle. And no. There's 4 teams that we are all in on in no particular order in that top tier in Cleveland State, Milwaukee, Northern Kentucky, and Wright State. That could and should make a run at this conference, and then right there in the middle with some of those returning players stepping up, we're checking right to that mid-level there. But Detroit Mercy, IUPUI, Oakland, Robert Morris, and Youngstown State, again, in no particular order there, and that sort of hanging around in the middle of the conference for us. Then down at the bottom, we're going to fold the hands with Green Bay and Purdue Fort Wayne. Excuse me. So that's the Horizon League, ladies and gents.
The Horizon League is my MVC this year, Jay. This is my
excellent. Excellent. No, I love to see that. Always looking for some good mid-major basketball, and there's a lot of it to be found, and the Horizon League will not disappoint this year. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Whether you're watching live, if you're watching live on the East Coast, this is one and done way after dark. It's the next day. It's Monday if you're watching live with us now. But if you're hanging out with us on the West Coast, just chilling, doing your things out there, it's still nice and early in the evening. We appreciate you hanging out with us, even in Mountain Time frame. Hey, everybody across the USA. Hey, anybody out of the country, watching and listening to Quebec, perhaps, Mozambique, Djibouti. I don't know. Everybody loves college basketball, no matter where you go. So, and if you love college basketball, if you love One and Done, make sure you smash those like and subscribe buttons. Leave us a comment. Turn on those notification bells so you don't miss anything that we're doing here, like the Horizon League and like the next conference that we're getting to here, the MAAC, of course, the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, another 11-team conference here. Last year, regular season champ was Iona, who completely just steamrolled like Brock Lesnar through a match at WrestleMania, just suplex city, basically 17-3 in this conference last season. And the conference tournament, Iona did not disappoint, winning that tournament as well. As a 13 seed, they fell to the eventual national champion UConn Huskies in the first round. Tough draw. Iona was a team that we were excited about before the brackets dropped, and then they ended up with that tough matchup against UConn. What bad luck for them. I just remember seeing that draw and being super bummed. Super bummed for them. So let's go back to the headlines for the MAAC. Of course, our guy Eric's going to lead us off here. What you got?
Man, so I'll start with paying homage to maybe the original Big Dipper, and that is Rick Pitino. Dropped down to the MAAC, and he's
dead to this conference.
No more, right? He is gone. He's no longer the head man of Iona, and he leaves a pretty big void in his wake, right? This conference is absolutely wide open. He'd really put a stranglehold on this conference while he was here, and now we're looking at the former head coach of Fairleigh Dickinson, took that big victory over Purdue in the first round of the tournament last year, parlayed that into the Iona head coach gig. So we will see how Tobin Anderson does in his first year with Iona. And I mean, it really bears the question, right? Anytime a conference is this wide open, feels like whoever kind of wants it the most is going to have the inside track. So, really, really going to be fun to watch to see who steps up and takes this league.
Sometimes it's about who wants it the most, and sometimes it's about the star power. It ain't always about the X's and the O's. Sometimes it's about the Jimmies and the Joes. And tell us about some of those players to know in this conference, Mike.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for the MAAC, the star power is gone. So not a lot of guys to talk about. There's only 6 guys returning that average 10 points per game in this league, and none of them had more than 13.1 points per game. So quite a contrast from the from the Horizon League. But look, man, Iona, Rick Pitino, that entire group dismantled. Walter Clayton's off to Florida. Dennis Jenkins is at St. John's with Coach Pitino. Nelly Jr. Joseph is with with Coach Pitino's brother at New Mexico. Noah Thomason left Niagara for Georgia. Javian McCullum headed over to Oklahoma. Supreme Cook, an all-world name there at Georgetown. Jalen Benjamin even going to the WCC and trying to fill that that Pajibski role there. So headed over to Santa Clara. And, man, it's just tough to find any stars out there, unlike the Horizon League. So, some guys are going to obviously step up. It's not that they're not going to be playing games 36-32. So there will be some guys that step up, but it's going to be more, we have to see these teams on the court to really identify kind of those breakout guys as we go through the season.
Now, the conference that plays 36-32 is coming up later when we talk about the SEC. But when we go, I was cautiously optimistic about the star power here, Mike, and just so many. This was ravaged by the transfer portal. It's tough when in this day and age the balance of a conference, or the power, I guess, of a conference it's just like this. It can flip real fast. This conference still finished second in the country in close game percentage, even with Iona blowing people out. It'll be competitive, right? Like, it's not like there's this ugly basketball all the time, but I guess it's going to be down a notch in terms of the quality of the teams overall. Mike, you talked about some guys leaving, right? Like all those stars that you mentioned that have left the conference. So maybe we should talk about some newcomers now. It's a lot of exit. Let's talk about the entrance here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give a newcomer, and then I'm gonna come to you guys to tell us a little bit about these guys. Alexis Yetna, forward from Fairfield, in from Seton Hall, the 6'8", 225-pound forward, missed last year completely with an injury. This is a guy that before injuries caught up with him was really, looking to have a promising career. Mike, what should we expect here out of Yetna?
Man, well, this guy was a beast when his career started, transferred to Seton Hall. We were hoping to see him on a bigger stage. We were able to see him a few years ago, didn't see him last year. And just what kind of player are we going to see? We know that the opportunity and the talent that he's going to be going against, obviously a notch down. If he's at 80% of who he was 3-4 years ago, that's probably going to be enough for Fairfield. So we're just hoping here that he, makes it through the season. Would love to see him kind of bounce back, have that have that final dance. But, Yetna, I mean, there's no doubt about his talent, Jay.
Another talented guard here, Joe Brown, the guard for Iona now, coming in from Cal. Not staying out there with my guy, Matson. Not doing it. Didn't hang around with my guy, Matson. It's okay.
It's been a while.
It's gonna get some run. Yeah, it has been. It's never too far away, I promise you. But Brown is looking to get some run at Iona now. Last season, about 7 points, just over 3 boards and 3 dimes in 32.5 minutes. 4 years at Cal, Eric. Looking now to just get a little bit more of that usage here, maybe. But is this going to be the spot for Brown to do it?
I mean, it remains to be seen, right? Ultimately, the hope, I'm sure, for Brown himself, for Iona, for anyone that's been following his game, is that this down transfer to Iona will be the breakout kind of nudge that he needs. You mentioned off the top, got plenty of run, almost 33 minutes per game, just didn't really have that high utilization type of role, right? So a lot of experience, been on the court a ton, but never really successfully converted that into, the high levels of outputs that you're looking for. So, Iona is kind of a wasteland, right? A lot of people, went out the door alongside Rick Pitino. They had to answer a lot of questions very quickly in terms of how they put this roster together. And that vacuum creates opportunity. And, someone coming in that spent 4 years at a high major program like Cal, He has that leadership attributes that you're looking for. Seems like he might be the kind of guy that can step forward and start to bring this team together.
There's nothing wrong with 7 points and 3.5 boards and 3 dimes. Like, there's definitely a spot for a player like that on a team, right? But, I mean, like you were saying, it's just you want to get those averages up a little bit at Iona. And if he does, there's a chance that they can, hang around there a little bit. Briggs McClain, Mike, guard from Manhattan, in from Hartford, 6'4", 175 pounds, 14.4 points. Shot good enough from 3 at 35% last season, and you love to see the 1.3 steals in just over 30 minutes as well. An absolute breakout in his third year for McClain, Mike. Is there something else about his game that he could improve to maybe take that next step, or are we sort of seeing that peak is just who he is?
Yeah, well, one thing that doesn't need too much improvement that he really improved on last year was his shooting efficiency. Now he can be a little bit cleaner from the floor overall, but he improved in all phases of his shooting efficiency. So great job there from McClain. Turnovers is the one area I would say. Obviously, your first year when you get major minutes, right, you tend to turn the ball over a little bit. So, Manhattan's going to want him to control that. But he should get a ton of shots on this team. There's not a lot of experience on this team from a D1 perspective. So I expect him to get, 15, 16 shots a night. And he's just going to have to take care of the ball better because these possessions in this conference, they're going to be, as Eric likes to say, right, like these possessions are going to be super impactful. So, McClain, a definite scorer. We'll like to see him, kind of contribute in other areas as well.
Well, that's the thing that could worry me, because if he gets sloppy and he turns the ball over 2 or 3 times in a row, that's in this conference, like you said, these possessions matter, and he could get that quick hook every once in a while, and that's the sort of thing that you can't see if Manhattan's going to be successful here. Eric, I want to come back to you here. TJ Weeks. Not months, not years, not centuries. Weeks. TJ Weeks, guard from Rider, in from UMass, 6'4", 185 pounds. 8.8 points, 3.7 boards in 26.5 minutes. Transferred in to play with his brother Tyreek Weeks, who comes to Rider from the JUCO rank. So the Weeks brothers linking up here, Eric. What should we expect out of TJ at least?
Man, this might be one of my favorite aspects of covering mid-major basketball is just how often we see brothers transfer in to play together. And here we have another pair of the Weeks bros transferring into Rider. In the case of TJ Weeks, kind of a question mark overall, right? We've seen his production, kind of slip a little bit over the years. But, even with that being the case, still a very impactful role player in the ranks of the A-10 last year at UMass. And, it kind of seems like the competition that he's going to face, the expanded role that we're expecting him to step into, maybe a little extra spring in his step because he's playing with his brother. All these things can potentially culminate into him putting up some pretty good sized numbers for Rider.
One more play here on our beautiful graphic to get to Yaw Obeng Mensah, forward from Niagara. Coming over from UMBC, 6'7", 215, wiry guy there, old Obeng Mensah. Nice step forward in his second year, Mike. What else should we know?
Yeah, I want to know first if he makes the all-name for this conference. I think he's a lock,
so
right?
Good. He's a lock. Easily.
All right,
easily.
We didn't have to talk about it. We skipped right over it. But no, yeah, you said it here. I mean, nice step forward in his second year. Obviously, the per minute is a thing you like to see, right? 8.5 points, 6.5 boards in just 23 minutes. He's got a real nice mid-range game. Can't really shoot it from deep, but has a nice little mid-range game there, and he's very violent when he attacks the rim. So if he can kind of stretch that range out, man, he's going to be an even a better asset. But just to what he's bringing, you get him some more minutes with his experience now coming into his upperclassman years. It feels like Mensah, man, is going to be someone that's going to impact many games in this conference.
And someone that we will see on some highlight reels as well, no doubt. With authority. Dipsy dude. All right, I don't want to. No more gimmick infringement here. Let's not do that. Let's just recap our 5 players here that are impact newcomers in this conference. That's Alexis Yetna, Joel Brown, Briggs McClain, TJ Weeks, and Yaw Obeng Mensa. 5 quality players here in the MAAC. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
A bunch of great names for you too, Jay. Man,
Definitely. Definitely. When we do our post or our closeout show and we're preparing and we're looking back at some of the best names, this is a league for sure that will have some say in what's going on here for sure. Make sure you smash those like and subscribe buttons if you like what you are seeing and hearing. Leave us a comment and let us know you're hanging out with us. Just say hey, whatever. We'll flash it up on the screen, and everybody in the green screens media universe will know you were here on this fine evening and sometimes morning if you're East Coast. If you're watching live, like we said earlier, this is one and done after dark, baby. Who knows what's going to happen? Oh, wait, I know what's going to happen. We're going to go back to that trusty tiers segment where once again, the gents and I will say if we are going to go all in, if we're going to check, or if we were going to fold our hand with each particular team. Going to go ahead and start. And again, if you've noticed, if you've hung around with us before, you know that we do these in alphabetical order. These are in no particular order, but we are letting you know how we feel about these teams. We're going to start with Canisius, Mike, 8-12 in the conference last season. How are we feeling?
I feel like I'm gonna check. Come back to me middle of the season. I'll let you know how I really feel. Taj Tavesky is a really nice guard. He averaged 12 points per game. He's one of those 6 guys that returns in this conference that average double figures. There's a lot of returning players on this Canisius team, so you really like that. It just feels like they're another year away. They've only got 1 senior on the squad, so I don't know if they can quite get there this year, but if they're able to keep this core intact and they play some good ball, we could be talking about them, the following year. But hey, we still got to play the games this year.
Fairfield, Eric, how you feeling? Looking all in, of course. One more time, all in, check, or fold are the options here. How are we feeling? We shoving these chips? Is it snap call, as you were saying earlier, Mike said, or I don't know. Are we checking? What are we doing?
Yeah, I feel like I've been splashing a lot of bots tonight. I'm gonna go all in on Fairfield, right? And look, we led off our Impact Newcomers segment talking about Yetna coming in from Seton Hall. I mean, it is a absolutely massive get for Fairfield, a program that went 9-11 last year. And, going along with Yetna, we've got Caleb Fields. He's, one of the top guards here in the conference. We've talked a lot about how much turmoil this league is in and projected to be in heading into this upcoming season. But, all told, with Yetna, with Field, with a few of the other pieces there, I feel more confident in the Fairfield roster than I do in most of the other teams in this league.
Makes a difference when you're pulling these guys out of the portal. I mean, again, you can go from a mid-level team right up to that top tier in an off season, and you can also go from that that top tier, the cream of the crop, as my guy, the Macho Man, would say, the cream of the crop. Oh yeah, you can go from up there and drop down a little bit from year to year as well, especially if you lose a legend of the game, Mike. Of course, I'm talking about Iona here. Is it a shoo-in that we should think about them as being at the top of the conference? I mean, or do you take a realistic look at this roster and sort of understand that this is a team in limbo?
Yeah, I feel pretty boring tonight, man. I feel like I'm checking a lot of hands here. I feel like I'm going to be checking a lot of hands here in this conference. We just got to see it, man. Like, so much roster turnover. I think Tobin Anderson did a very good job, and I would not be surprised if this team won this conference. I have to see it. You talked about Joel Brown. There's 5 freshmen on this team. I feel like the upside's kind of capped because there's just not the top end talent. So I'm a little worried about that. From a roster overall, though, I feel like this is one of the more complete and better rosters as far as known quantities. But yeah, anytime. I mean, they're not going to dominate this league, and I just have to see it to believe it. I guess this is kind of a theme of the conference for me.
The range of outcomes is so broad.
Yeah.
And we can say that for a lot of teams in this conference, but especially for Iona, it's probably the safe play to just put them in the middle there. But again, you can make a case either way if things go, a couple of bounces. This could, again, be one of those teams that could surprise people. Let me take one here, boys. I'll go ahead and take Manhattan here, 10-10, right in the middle, right? Even 50-50 last year. So I will also take the 50-50 way out and say check for Manhattan this season. Another team with this absolute massive turnover. Not quite sure what you're going to get. We talked about Briggs McClain earlier, giving them a boost, but half the roster are freshmen and JUCO newcomers. So what are you going to get? Is this one of those instances where the transfer portal guys, everybody gels, or, does it take a little bit of time for it to get together? A little bit of unknown there. So Manhattan, we will just check right there. I wanted to ask for some good news at the top, Mike, but I don't think I'm going to get it with Marist here, am I?
Well, 6-14 last year. There's only one senior on the roster this year. You lost your star forward in Patrick Gardner. There's a lot of solid players that are back. I'm going to have to fold this one, though. So we'll still fold here. I just don't know that there's any talent that jumps off the page. So, I can't put this roster ahead of very many in this conference. So for that reason, I'm going to throw those cards into the muck.
For that reason, I'm out. All right, Mount St. Mary's, Eric, 8-12 in the conference last year. How are we feeling about Mount St. Mary's?
I'm feeling like I need to slow down a little bit. Not all the way down, so I'll check with regard to the Mount. Like you mentioned, 8-12 last season. Pretty solid 1-2 punch with forward George Tinsley and guard Dakota LeFew. Feels like they can use these guys in a lot of different ways. Like Mike mentioned with Marist, Mount St. Mary, another team with only one senior on the roster. So maybe a little bit of a question mark in terms of their experience. But, all told, it feels like a team with some upside. If they can build some momentum this year, maybe they mess around and make some noise. If nothing else, it feels like they might be kind of building towards a team on the rise for not this season, but the season to come.
Just having to play it safe on some of these prognostications with these teams because there's no way to know at this point, right? And Niagara, Mike, is probably another one of those teams, right?
Yeah, man. I'm going to check again. There's a lot of experience on this roster, but I don't know. Losing Noah Thomason, I mean, that really hurts. I just don't know that I can pick a guy out on their roster and say that guy takes them to the all-in level. So, yeah, 10-10 last year. I feel like it's more the same. So I'm going to go ahead and check. And man, we're gonna have to do another show mid-season, man. Do a checkup on the MAAC here.
And speaking of check and up, I'm going to go ahead and put Quinnipiac in that check level as well. A whole lot of mid in this conference.
We're going to have enough space.
Yeah, I don't know. We only paid the graphics department to do that much right there in the end, so we'll see what happens here. But I just felt like this is where Quinnipiac needed to be. More of the same this year. Matthew Ballack is a very good player. I don't know if he's a great player. Like most of this conference, like I think the last two teams that we've talked about, just where's the big time playmaker? Where's the guy that you look at when there's a run that needs to be stopped and you need a bucket? where is it for Quinnipiac? And I don't really see that guy. So that worries me a little bit, even though they finished 11-9 in the conference last season. We're going to leave them right there, right in the middle. Where is Ryder going to go there as well, Mike? Are we going to break this run of teams that we're checking on? It feels like a team that should probably break through.
Well, it is getting late in the night. I've been checking a lot. I'm running out of chips here. I'm going to take my stand here. I'm going to go all in with Ryder. 13-7 last year. I feel like this team has all the goods. Guard Alan Powell. Mervyn James returns. He's a very good player. TJ Weeks, we talked about him coming in from the A10. You got 5 freshmen coming in. So a little inexperienced there, but DJ Dudley, man, he's a 3-star composite. He's got a lot of potential. So you don't find too many guys with stars next to their names entering this conference this year. So I love Ryder to go all in here.
All right. A little more at the top of this conference, a little more to be a little excited about. And just looking at the last 2 teams here that we're going to get to. I think that excitement is about to cease. Starting with Siena, 11-9 in the conference last year, though. Eric, don't say anything here that we can really trust and feel just super confident about.
Yeah, I'm going to immediately take the wind out of your sails. I'm going to put Siena down here in the fold category. You mentioned 11-9 last year. This is not last year's team. They lost their top 3 scorers. The team that is heading into this upcoming season is super young, right? No seniors. And really it feels like what's going to be make or break for Siena is they need to secure a waiver for Austin Peay transfer Sean Durr-Gordon. If he's out there, maybe he can make a bit more noise for him, but that is, at least as we sit today, a legitimate question mark. So not really a whole lot to, build confidence in what Siena will do in the upcoming season.
Something that we're going to pay a lot of attention to, these guys, whether or not they're getting waivers. This is something that I've been talking about for a long time. How many of these players are not going to get the waivers? Because this is some third school, fourth school for some of these guys. What's going to happen here as the season approaches? It's going to be an interesting thing to watch. And Durr-Gordon, easy for me to say, is going to be one of those players to watch.
Is he going to make the all-name if he gets the waiver?
Way too difficult for me to say, so I don't think so. Let's do all right. Finish it up here, Mike, with St. Peter's. What are we doing?
The Peacocks, 7-13 last year. I'm going to go ahead and fold. I just think it's more of the same in year 2 for Coach Mason. A lot of JUCO, a lot of D2, a lot of unknown. Just a theme of the night for this conference. There are going to be playmakers that come up in this conference. We're just going to have to get into the season to see this thing, and maybe even to the early parts of the conference season as the bye games kind of show themselves here.
We're gonna have to bookmark this one, man. It's gonna be one again to revisit, because with as many teams that are in the middle of this conference, at least how we view them, is somebody gonna jump up? Is a Quinnipiac going to have someone step up and get them up into the top tier here? But for now, our tiers of all in at the top, Fairfield and Ryder. Right there in the middle tier, the check tier if we're checking our hands here, would be Canisius, Iona, Manhattan, Mount St. Mary's, Niagara, and the aforementioned Quinnipiac. And down at the bottom, Marist, Siena, and St. Peter's. The MAAC. Who else is doing 25 minutes on the MAAC? Your boy. Here on One and Done, that's who. And if you are here watching, we appreciate you finding us, checking out what we're doing. That's my man, the captain of the Green Screens Media Ship, the OG Money Mike. That's Mike Holland. Find him on X at MCHolland34. He is Eric the Blue, the Baron of Bread of Green Screens Media. You can find him in those Twitter streets. He has planted his flag. Yes, I know I am calling the app something different. Eric has planted his flag. He has put his foot down. He will always refer to it as being in those Twitter streets at Fantasy Nav. And I, of course, am the aforementioned conductor of that Green Screens media train. You can find me on X at Dr. William Cannon. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube. Turn on those notification bells. Do it. Recorded Cola. Do it. Make sure you follow at One and Done CBB, all spelled out, at Get Green Screens for the main Green Screens media page. Follow our guy, Chris, the newest member of the Green Screens family, at The Real Napier. Give him a follow. Build his followers up. Build us up. And build up your basketball knowledge by coming back next time to hang out with us on One and Done with the broskies in basketball so you can get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.